Chapter 4 talks about selecting and testing source materials. So it starts off by talking about how you can use facts, definitions, examples, or testimonies to further support and validate your claims and your ideas that you're trying to get across. Personally, I really like using analogies in my public speaking presentations. This goes back into understanding your audience, but if you understand your audience well enough that you can create an analogy that really goes hand in hand with something that they're familiar with, you can really efficiently get your idea across and have them understand exactly what you're trying to say. And then statistics are also great. They kind of have that connotation where they make you seem smart, that saying 97.6% of statistics aren't real or whatever like that. But you got to be careful with this, because anyone who's actually taken a statistics course understands how manipulating statistics is one of the easiest things in the world, and you can kind of make them say whatever you want to say. So just be careful and make sure you're really looking at the math behind it when you're going to use statistics for your presentation, because the last thing you want to do is use a statistic and then have someone cite it or someone find the source and be like, hey, this really doesn't make much sense, and that's really not the best way to look at it. And then there comes up the case between primary sources versus secondary sources. So primary sources are pretty much always going to be better. These are your not once removed sources. So your biographies, your videos of the event that you're talking about, pictures of the event you're talking about, recordings, etc., etc. Secondary sources might be like newspapers or journal articles about whatever you're talking about. Then it goes into scholarly versus popular sources. So scholarly sources are very good if you need a reputable source and you're giving a presentation to, say, like a college professor. But then a popular source might not be as reputable, but at the same time, if it goes better with your audience, then you might want to use a popular source instead of a scholarly source, because maybe if the audience has heard of CNN before or has heard of a source that you're going to use, that's gonna click a lot better with them than if you say, oh, this university.gov posted an article. They're going to say, well, I've never really heard of that. Then personal knowledge goes back with the last video. Personal knowledge is always great to use. And then once you have a good pool of sources, you want to try to figure out which ones are the most reliable and trustworthy. And then out of that pool, you want to figure out which ones go best hand in hand with your presentation. And then you just want to make sure that you cite your sources orally. Even though it's not writing, you can still get caught for plagiarism, and that's really bad. So just make sure you're citing the sources that you use, unless, of course, it's your personal knowledge.